Welcome everyone and back to the podcast. So today just talking about the transition from primary to secondary school. A big topic right now with many people leaving, and I've got an article about this. With more than 3,400 secondary schools in England, it can be a hard decision when selecting the right school for a child. The transition from secondary school is the most pivotal changes that a child will experience in their young life, and given that parent or carer in England can only apply up to 6 secondary schools, choosing the right school can become a heavy process. A Scottish study notes that there can be negative associations with the transition to secondary, including a dip in enthusiasm and engagement. There are many students report that they enjoyed the challenge of more rigorous work. Whilst they require a degree of consistency and stability to aid their development, transitions for children aren't infrequent. They shift between different stages of their life quite rapidly as they develop, whether it is joining primary school, the arrival of a new sibling, moving house, or familial change. Thus, children are known to be particularly resilient. Still, every transition has an emotional, physical, and psychological impact. What is the transition to secondary school? The transition to secondary school refers to the time in which a child makes an educational shift from ending their year at primary school into their new life in Year 7. Not only is this an educational change from Key Stage 2 curriculum to a Key Stage 3 curriculum, but social, environmental, and sometimes geographical factors change too, sometimes drastically. This can be a very exciting period of time for children and their families, but it can also be challenging for many families, especially in cases where a child has particular attachments and needs. It can raise feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, and insecurity for many children and their families due to the challenges that may come with making new friends, children becoming more independent, and entering a new curriculum stage and meeting new teachers. Whilst children may not always air their concerns, the prospect of transitioning to secondary school may stir feelings of separation anxiety with the current group of friends, teachers they have also grown attached to, and routines that they are familiar with. The transition to secondary from primary also coincides with the onset of puberty for many young people, meaning that a large number of children are experiencing hormonal change simultaneously. A successful transition to secondary school can have a wholly impact on the child's experience of the whole school and learning for their many years to come, while a transition with many obstacles can negatively affect the way a child and their family view schooling. For this many reasons, there must be a downside and includes concerns about life at secondary. Some parents decide to homeschool their child. Of course, this decision comes with the own advantage and disadvantages. Why is the transition from primary to secondary school important? The transition from primary to secondary is not just important for the child's first term or even their first year at school. The impact of the school transition transcends throughout their whole school life and leaves a lasting impression for many years to come. A small interaction with a teacher, a subject, or another student can influence the child's opinion of school life and education right into adulthood. Many children who have negative experience of the school also report negative experience of the school when they were children. Given the impact of the pandemic on homeschooling, the transition from secondary school is more important than ever. Most children starting secondary school will have missed out on a better 2 years of socializing at school, impacting their social development. Uh, Anxiety is also the transition is bound to prevail. What's the difference about secondary school? The major difference is between the experience of secondary compared to primary. Educational shift. Children in secondary meet a more rigorous curriculum where many new skills are needed to foster to engage with it. Additionally, children in secondary are typically given homework for each subject that they study on a weekly basis. Organizational shift. Children in secondary school have different teachers for different subjects and are usually taught in different classrooms for each subject. They will be given an exercise book and textbook for their individual subjects and are expected to remember to bring the correct books to the correct lessons. The school day looks quite different, with just a few minutes to get between lessons and sanction given for lateness. After school and on weekends can look quite different too, as children will have to manage their homework schedule and independent study time. In Year 7, children face many organisational changes and progress towards greater independence. Social shift. Children who are transitioning to secondary school will be immersed in a new social world where they may not be with many or even any of their close friends. They will have the opportunity to make new friends or establish a new social group in some way. They may speak differently to teachers who aim to foster a sense of maturity in each child. Cultural shift. Children will wear a new brand school uniform and will have to understand a new set of rules in each school that they go to. Geographical shift. Not only is the building a completely different layout, but their school may be an entirely different geographical location. They may have to learn new transport routes, travel alone, and acquire a certain level of street safety awareness. Biological shift. As children transition into secondary, they often experience changes in their bodies. Some children are affected by the changes in this time period, but many experience changes in their personalities while they are working out how to fit in or stand out. This can be in conjunction with emotional changes, changes to their physical appearance, and a heightened heightened sense of self-awareness. This can make the process of transitioning to a new environment more challenging. What makes a successful transition from primary to secondary school? Whilst the transition can be daunting for some families, there are many things that can be done to ease the initial shift, making the transition a very successful one. It is important to note that the children have some familiarity with the school prior to the start of the term. Of course, all schools offer open days, either face-to-face or virtually. Bringing the child along to an open day brings many more benefits than attending without the child, as the perception of the school may be left to their child's imagination. Open Day is a good community to connect with other parents and children who will be attending the secondary. Gathering information about the topics that will be studied in the first term could be useful so the child can get ahead. By doing this, the work will be given less daunting, as they will have encountered it in some way before. Many schools now offer transition week between the summer holidays prior to the start of the term. The children who participate are given a great opportunity to establish the foundations of new friendships in their year group whilst getting to know their teachers. Ensuring that the child is in a good homework routine at the end of primary will ease the transition to a bigger workload. Giving the child more opportunities to be responsible for their own organisation, punctuality and reliability will set them in good stead for the increased independence that they will experience at the beginning of secondary school. Practicing how they might travel to school by making the journey themselves a few times before the start of term is used for the child to become familiar with their route and routine. Parents should be prepared to see a change in their child as they start their life in secondary. Being exposed to different interactions with children and more mature conversation and topics, parents should expect their attitudes and opinions to change. It may be surprising how quickly they change, so figuring out how to deal with these changes before they arise can help for a smooth shift, not only into secondary school, but into adolescence too. Parents should help children develop a healthy relationship with their mobile phones, if they have one. Parents should remain contactable, but not consistently checking up on their child, as this may be distracting and slow their process of independence. Schools sometimes assign the new secondary with a buddy in the old year. This can be a helpful strategy for the child to feel at ease when they start. What are some of the impacts of school transition? Transitioning into secondary school has many impacts, and many are positive. There are challenges too, some of which have already been mentioned. Some positive impacts of the school transition can include an increased sense of independence and accountability, which is demonstrated at home and at school, a feeling of pride in the work and achievements, good bonds between peers and teachers, which aids another aspect of the transition, a positive change in personality, and a chance to reinvent themselves, a love of learning due to the new in-depth and dynamic lesson with subject experts. Negative impact can include decreased attendance, lack of engagement and or disruption due to finding the work too challenging, anxiety about going to school, low self-esteem, missing their primary school friends, not enjoying lessons due to their poor behaviour, getting lost in the new building, not being able to keep up with the homework deadlines, parental distress at their child's unhappiness / lack of academic achievement / bullying. What hinders a successful transition to secondary? A difficult transition to secondary school can negatively impact the mental well-being of the child and the parents, affecting the child's academic achievements, motivation, attendance, and engagement. Obstacles to a successful secondary school transition can be a lack of preparation from parents. Whilst children are resilient, they cannot be expected to understand the changes that are about to happen without having a conversation about it. A lack of preparation from the school. The school should ensure that all communications are made in a timely manner. If a child has particular needs, the school's SEN department should make contact with the family prior to the start of the term to discuss their care plan. Harsh expectations. Teachers must try and build a positive rapport with the students and keep in mind that they are new to the school, the rules and the expectations. While it can be a good idea to set expectations by setting early sanction for the original mishaps, such as bringing the wrong book to the lesson, praise should be given at every opportunity, more so than sanctions. Bullying. Schools should have a robust anti-bullying policy in place and deal with instances of bullying and discrimination immediately. Many parents choose to withdraw their children from schools in the first term due to bullying, which leads to further academic disruption for the child. Weak friendship ties. Many children who have a negative experience in secondary school struggle to make friends or find their social circle. While this can take time, it can be very unsettling and cause huge concern for both the child and the family. The child may not enjoy going to the school. Lack of consistency at home. Settling into the routine of secondary school requires organisation and accountability. Children should come home to an environment where they are assured that they will have a dinner prepared for them and a quiet place to work with a set of their belongings. If a child lives between two homes, both parents/carers should remind them of the things that they need to take with them. A chaotic and disrupting home life negatively impacts the child's ability to concentrate and remain organised. Poor behaviour in the classroom. Some children, when they start secondary school, report feelings of shock when they witness how some of their peers speak to teachers or treat other students. This can be unsettling and disruptive, impacting their enjoyment of school and feeling of security in the school environment. How to help children transition to secondary school. There are many things that parents can do to help their child and themselves go through the school transition. They can try and learn and understand the processes of the school, including going through the behaviour policies, the times of school and day, and speaking to their child's new head of year of what to expect. Some transition activities may include helping children with routines at home, such as creating checklists for packing their bag each day. From a social perspective, they can connect with parents who are also sending their child to the school and create opportunities for the child to interact. However, they should ensure that the friendship is not too dependent, otherwise they may not make an effort to make new friendships. Parents should also ask their child how their day was each day and try and foster an open and honest relation where the child will want to tell them the truth. At the same time, parents should avoid being overly inquisitive, as naturally, pre-adolescent children don't always want to share every detail of their day. Parents and teachers should encourage resilience and remind the child that the change is all children experience. Reports of unhappiness or negative should not be ignored, but the response adults to find the child a solution where appropriate. Children should be told that it's okay to get some things wrong as they make the shift, as it's all part of the learning process. Teachers should pay close attention to the pastoral issues in the first few months and ensure that any reports of bullying or discontent are investigated. They should also bear in mind that children just starting secondary have not yet acquired their social skills, maturity and resilience of these in the older years. The ANAFOD children and families provide advice for supporting children through their transition between primary and secondary. The UK government, alongside teachers, have also developed a free lesson plan which can help children in primary and prepare for the change.